Hi, welcome to Talking TV. My name is Patrick Day, and I'm here with the Times TV critic Mary McNamara and Game of Thrones superfan Alicia Banks.
Hi.
And we are talking about Game of Thrones. The season finale is coming up this Sunday, and last week was a huge episode called The Watchers on the Wall. It was an hour-long battle sequence with a major character biting the dust. What did you guys think of the battle?
I thought giants on woolly mammoths, man. That's what I thought. That was like the greatest thing ever. I was thinking, Peter Jackson, eat your heart out. This is like giants on woolly mammoths.
Yeah, the battle definitely reminded me of the battle sequence from the second Lord of the Rings movie.
Totally, yeah, no, totally. Helm's Deep. It was like the Two Towers. It was very much so. In fact, when they had the scene where they're all standing on the wall, and then the wilding army is out there, I'm sitting there going, who can come? Can the elves of Lorien come? Where is Gandalf with the riders of Rohan? They have no one. It's like Daenerys. Would she bring her dragons to this? No. It's like, it was very funny, but it was like, but then it was like, it was different enough. So, but there was like that moment where I thought, is this a conscious homage to that? Because it gets compared to Lord of the Rings so much.
Right.
It was good to finally see the giants and the woolly mammoths in action, because they've been hinted at, I think, over the last few seasons. So to finally see them, I wasn't ready.
You weren't ready.
Right.
I really wasn't at all.
I thought it was an amazingly technically well done episode. You had this castle, you had this wall, you had an army on one side, you had a raiding party on the other side, and for the director to orient us in that way and to know where everyone was at every single moment and to understand which side was which in the battling, I thought it was really well done.
And they had definitely improved. I mean, we were talking about this earlier, the Battle of Blackwater, which I thought when they did the fire scene and they set the boats on fire, that was amazing. But when they did the actual on the ground fighting, I felt like they hadn't hired enough extras or like CG'd enough people, because it was like really kind of a weird little battle scene. But this time it was just like non-stop action, and of course incredibly violent. And like, you sort of, my son and I were going, okay, he's gonna die. Like, you could tell the ones who didn't get names, so it's like, okay, he's gonna die, and Sam won't die, but that young kid who's so nervous, he's gone. And it's like, you're just like picking everybody out. And I mean, it was so great to see Sam. I mean, didn't you feel like this was his moment?
Because he's always been the underestimated one, but I knew he had a little fight in him. If I'm correct, I think it was last season where he killed the White Walker with the dragon.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So it's like he has a little fight in him, especially when it comes to Jilly.
Yes. Well, he was protecting her, and I mean, that was like really, when his moment when he picked up the crossbow and then he shot the guy. It was really good. It was the big guy, one of the big guys, the big bald guys. So that was good.
Well, speaking of death, a major character got killed this week. Grit, Jon Snow's semi-girlfriend.
It was such a movie scene, just to have everything pause and slow down around them. It's for a moment you realize, okay, Game of Thrones isn't real right now, just because it was so slow and the way they panned around them. I was like, poor Grit. I felt so bad for her and Jon.
So on the Game of Thrones shock scale, how surprised were you that she got killed?
Oh, not surprised at all.
I wasn't. I knew that because she was looking for him, that either he was going to die or she was going to die.
Yeah, and he can't die.
Right.
I mean, he's like one of, I would think like the 4 unkillable characters of Game of Thrones. And
he's right there with Tyrion. Yeah. Like, if you kill Tyrion, we all riot.
Yeah, Daenerys, Arya, it's like those 4. Everybody else is up for grabs, but he can't go. But yeah, I thought actually that scene, it was a very movie scene, but I thought they played it really well, because like when he first sees her, he's got that big smile on his face.
Like, oh, you're still living. Hi.
But it was really funny, because it's like, you have that, I mean, obviously not in a huge battle scene or whatever, but you have those moments where there's somebody that you like loved, even though you might hate them at the moment, but if you see them after a long time, your first instinct is to be happy.
And it was like, so poetic of how she died, of who killed her.
Yeah, that little kid.
And then the nod that he gave Jon, like, that's one for me. And Jon's looking at him like,
the one
why did you do
that? No, there were a lot of really nice cinematic moments, and I thought it was really nice, the 4 who held the gate.
I knew they were going to die.
I thought that was so
like, all
good.
5 of you go hold the gate. Don't let him through. I'm like, by.
But it was really nice that we didn't have to see them die. I mean, I thought that was really well done, because I do think that every once in a while they do err on this, excess. It's like, I don't want to see any more entrails spilled on this show. It's like after the Viper scene, it's like, how do you dial back from that? And I felt like, all things considered, the whole episode was, I mean, yeah, the guy got the hammer in the head, but I mean, in terms of Game of Thrones standards, it was kind of bloodless. You saw a lot of people killed, but you didn't see like lungs hanging out, or like, well, you did see that one hand. But you know what I'm saying?
Well, I think you also saw a direwolf tearing a guy's throat out.
Okay, but again.
But it was dark, so the blood didn't look.
But the
graphic.
anchor that swung down, I'm like, that's like the best kept secret of the wall.
That was so
when
cool.
When it came out, I was like, yes, can we do that again?
Yeah, I know. Because I was really worried, because when the woolly mammoth were pulling at the door, and they're all just standing there, and I'm going, can somebody do something? Can you? I mean, surely you have some weapons up there. And then they finally pulled that big arrow out, and I'm like, well, where's that been? That's a really good weapon.
Right.
But yeah, so I thought it was really good, and I didn't feel. I mean, there was a part of me, of course, I always want to know what's going on with like Daenerys or Arya, or even what's going on at King's Landing, but it felt like it moved so quickly. I felt like it was, I don't know, like a half hour long. I was surprised when the credits rolled.
Yeah.
It went by really fast.
There's just so many people. I know they have to kind of take their time with, okay, who gets what in this episode. There's so many storylines.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
And now a major, anytime you have a major event like this, the characters are going to change. And, we saw Jon Snow really take the command of the Night's Watch in this battle.
Right.
And then his girlfriend got killed. I mean, he's always been a bit mopey. Do you think that this is going to make him mopier?
Well, he's definitely. I mean, he's heading out there all on his own. He's like, he's got nothing to lose. I think at this point, it's kind of like, we can't keep doing what we're doing. We have to change the game. So he's now going out.
To come to you.
Right, exactly, because they're not going to be able to hold it for very long. And so he's going to go out. And I think this idea that he's going to kill this one guy and the wildlings are going to fall apart. Okay, maybe, but it'll be interesting to see what he does. You know. But yeah, he's becoming a king basically. I mean, he's becoming a leader. And so, that's an interesting journey for him. And he is, he's heartbroken, but that's when you take the most chances.
Right. Now, if we could step back another week, we were talking before the show. I think you still are both in recovery from the Mountain versus the Viper.
Yes.
Do we have to go there?
Right. No, I just, that was like one of the grossest things. But it was even gross. That sequence, the episode was even gross before that, because it's like when you see the Mountain in action and he like killed some guy and his guts all spilled out. And it was just kind of like, for fun. Come on, guys. Let's just.
But I'm really not even surprised, because it takes me back to season 1 when we saw, I think, the first Mountain, and when he cut the entire horse's neck and head off.
Yeah.
It was too much. I've always told myself, do not get attached to any characters. And I learned that with Ned Stark dying.
Oh, yeah.
But for some reason, my heart could not just help but get attached to Pedro Pascal as Oberyn. And, I was hurt.
Well,
staring at the wall for 15 minutes.
That was your reaction.
Silence.
Yes.
Out the wall.
So you were mad because he died, or the way he died?
Both.
Yeah.
I really was. And then when the Mountain just put his fingers, and you heard the cracking of his eyes. Sorry, not to get too gross, but
it was horrible. I couldn't watch. Too much. I closed my eyes.
And then his teeth being knocked like 10 feet across the pavement like Mexican jumping beans.
It was terrible.
I was hurt. I was so hurt. Especially because with Oberyn dying, you automatically assume maybe this is Tyrion's end for real.
Well, no. Unkillable.
Right.
I hope he is.
No.
Right. As I
he has to be unkillable. No, I mean, seriously.
As I told someone, George R.R. Martin is sadistic, but he's not stupid.
He's not stupid, no. And even, they're very, the writers have been very true to the books, but I think, they would have to say no. I mean, Peter Dinklage is the reason that people were watching this show. His performance has been amazing. The transformation of that character. So obviously we're going into the finale, and I'm assuming that the finale will, somehow he will get out of being murdered
That's what I'm
because
hoping,
being
too, that he
executed,
ends up
because there's
getting
just
away.
no way that Tyrion's going down.
Right. Well,
because people would go.
let's talk a minute about, so the finale is this Sunday. The creators have said it's their best season finale to date.
Right, which is always very nerve-wracking.
Right.
Because it's just so funny, because it's like I was thinking when they were, so the Oberyn death was, perfect, example of how hubris is fatal, because he's dancing around the mountain going, and
Exactly.
I need you to admit this, and trying to get Tywin to admit it, and so then he gets killed. And so now you have the creators going, this is going to be the best finale ever, and you're like, did you not watch The Mountain and the Viper? Did you not learn about hubris
For
and
me,
the dangers
my
of
favorite
hubris?
finale so far out of the 3 seasons that have been completed is when Daenerys came into her own and she had the dragons. I have yet to see a finale to top that. So if it does top that, I wonder how they will do it.
Well, the finales, let's see, a lot of them have ended on Daenerys, because it was that was when she came out of the fire with the little baby dragons, and then when she torched the guy, when you could...
Oh, that was just incredible.
That reveal that she understood everything that was being said, and that was great. And then the finale last season was her being passed around.
She was lifted up by the people of
exactly.
Young Kai, I think.
So it'll be interesting to see if we end on a Daenerys note, because she's definitely, we've watched a lot of the characters, even the noble ones, kind of lose their innocence in a way. I mean, Daenerys has had to make some hard decisions. Watching Tyrion become so angry at his family, he's finally like turned on his family and saying, I wish I had killed him. And you can see that he's, and Shay betraying him, you can just see that he now is just a little ball of hate, it's like, and
a little ball of
and Arya too, she's gone from being like, the classic tomboy to now she is very vicious and killing for the love of killing. So it's really interesting to me, like, what the definition of hero is in Game of Thrones, because it is not a classic definition, because now we really don't have anybody who hasn't committed what used to be a crime, a killing just out of hate or revenge, not self-defense or not, whatever. Everybody here now has got some hate in their heart. And so it's really interesting to see how, so you can't really tell based on what we have in front of us, like who are the kind of the natural heroes of the piece.
Right. I mean, it's a tricky line they have to walk, because you can't make your characters, if you make them too dark, then what are you rooting for? They become too grim and
if you make them too noble, Ned Stark.
Right.
You're not going to be around for long. You have to kind of tote the line between
what's good
and what's wrong in order, because at the end of the day, you have to survive for yourself. I mean, look at Sansa when she walked down the steps.
Right.
At the end of
with her feathers on.
Yes.
I'm going to take over the Eyrie.
Yes. One of the dangers of a show like this, so many balls in the air right now with storylines, and they're jumping across continents, and they have to wrap up a lot of this stuff in a satisfying way to give you a season finale. What story thread do you demand you see in this finale that needs to be tied up in some way, or at least developed in some way, for it to be satisfying for you?
Tyrion, definitely.
Oh, Tyrion. Tyrion has to get out of there, and we have to see what he's willing to do to get out of there. So that's going to be interesting. And Jaime too, like that relationship between Tyrion and Jaime has been really interesting, because they, in the very beginning, I mean, they hated each other, and now there is like some sort of, and it's not just family, it's kind of like two men, like having been through the wars together, they have definitely a simpatico. So like I would like to see them, either go off together or have some sort of, what I mean, like Butch and Sundance riding into the sunset. But I definitely want to see that. I don't know what's going on at the Eyrie. That's kind of weird. And I do want to see what's going on with Arya, but I think that she's like mid-story. And Daenerys, I don't know what's going to happen with her, because,
especially with Jorah and finding out about the betrayal too. See if he can. Will we see him again? And if so, in what capacity?
Kind of took me by surprise that she, because she does seem to be one of the like more modern, logically, of the characters, that she couldn't weigh what he had done for her in the meantime, that she just dismissed him. So that,
I'm somewhat not surprised that she. I mean, Drogo was her heart, along with her unborn son. They were everything to her, and to find out that he had a hand in what was their demise. I mean,
Yeah.
how can you forgive that?
I miss Drogo.
I want her to, because I mean, I love the Jorah and Danny Perrin, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I think
What do you think?
Well, two storylines I definitely want to see developed are Stannis. I mean, the last time we saw him and
Yeah,
Davos,
he's at the bank.
they were off at the bank getting alone,
Right.
which is
That
something
was
you would
weird.
never expect to see in a fantasy series.
That was so strange when they all walk in and
And
they're
this is
all
why
sitting
Davos
there.
is needed.
Right.
He's great.
Yes. So I mean, I'd like to see what happened with that. I mean, this is a plot that's been brewing since his defeat in season 2. So we want to see what happens there, and I also want to see Bran and Hodor.
Where he's going, because I feel like where he's going has a tie into why the finale is called The Children, and it goes back to it's in the books. I'm in the third one, in Storm of Swords, about how I want to say either thousands or hundreds of years ago, the children and the first men, if I'm correct, they came to a truce, and the children were known for being like the first in that land and having the magic, being the Green Seers, being the wargs. So I'm wondering if after all these years, will we finally see the children once and for all after reading about them in the books? This isn't a spoiler.
Well, I did. I mean, we also, we left that baby with the White Walkers, and it's like, and that was kind of weird,
so
because I had one of those moments where I was like going, okay, if they're going to kill this baby, that might be, and then the baby's eyes went that blue, and you're like, oh, that's what they've been doing. They've been turning all these babies into this army. So, and that's the other thing is too, the White Walkers, they've been very parsimonious about White Walker scenes, because it's like that sort of started off the whole, the whole show started with a scene with the White Walkers, and they're this constant threat, and you keep thinking, okay, well, eventually all of these warring men are going to have to come together because they're going to have to fight this one big thing. And the other thing is, like, they keep saying winter is coming, and you're just going, yeah, well, we're how many seasons in? Right. Still pretty warm.
It's coming in the 6th book.
It's like
I will say,
but they've done a pretty, and they've done a pretty good job of like, I do, I was saying, and I will say this now, I'm going to have a Q&A with the writers that will be up on, it's an email that'll be up on Monday, and one of the things I asked them is, like, I envision this enormous whiteboard, where they're like keeping track, like looking like something out of Homeland, with the strings and everything. It's like how they keep track of all of this, and like, oh, we haven't heard from these people, so we need to put them in here, and the pacing and how they break the scripts, and do they break them as, one episode, or do they break them as like a 10-hour film, kind of thing. I mean, I just don't know how they do it, but they've been really good about with the, you forget about the walkers, and then you're like, oh wait,
and they remind you, don't forget about them in the land of cold, or where no one has been yet.
I will say it is pretty remarkable that the fan base that is so intent on instant gratification has been so patient with this show in terms of the dragons and the White Walkers, that they're out there, but you still don't see them regularly, and they're not really addressed on a week-to-week basis.
And I would say that's what I love about the show, is how you they're there, but the writers are just going to tease you every few episodes about them. I personally enjoy it, because I don't expect to see them, and then, oh, hey, here's a White Walker with the baby, eyes, blue crystals.
Right.
Out of nowhere.
I mean, you certainly can't fault them for not having things happen in every episode. I mean, it's just like, when you think about the death of Joffrey just occurring in the middle of the season, I mean, that's like, any other show, that would be the finale. It's like, but this is just, oh yeah, this is going to happen. And then, we're going to go from there, that there's always something bigger. And, obviously this is George R. R. Martin's story. And so, but the way they've kind of parsed it for the TV show, it's just, I mean, it's amazing, because you do have, these wonderful moments, like with Tyrion and Jaime, where Tyrion's talking and telling the story of the cousin with banging on the
Beatles.
So they let that go. I mean, he talked for like, I mean, that was like a 5-minute monologue, which is a long monologue in television these days. And those moments are so strong. And I mean, and Peter Dinklage has been so amazing. I mean, just again, that's why Tyrion cannot go, because he's made that show, because the nobility of that character. So you get that, and then you get entrails, and then you get like 9 million people getting hammers in the heads, and and you're rooting for teeth knocking out. So it's like everything is there.
Well, as we're wrapping up, do you guys have any special plans for watching the finale? Are you having a finale party? Are you going to watch it silent in a room alone?
I'm going to watch it. I have the East Coast, so I'm going to watch it early.
Okay.
That's all. I
If
I
anyone
can't
wants to
stand
invite
Twitter.
me to a party, please let me know.
We should totally have a Game of Thrones party. We should do that
Well, great.
next time.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. If you want to come back at noon on Monday, we'll be having another Talking TV chat where we discuss what we saw on Sunday night. Thank you. Once again, my name is Patrick Day. This was Mary McNamara and Alicia Banks.
Bye.
Bye.